Hi, I'm Diane Hendricks and welcome to Fresh to Frozen and Back. This show is going to make your life easier. In each episode, I'll show you how to prepare delicious and better for you meals, how to freeze them properly to bring back to the table at a later date. This episode is all about plant-based deliciousness. Eating a plant-based diet may sound like it's not delicious, but it can be, and I'm going to show you how. So today, I'm going to share 3 of my favorite plant-based recipes. We're going to be making spinach and artichoke bites that are great for an appetizer or any time of the day, a gluten-free pizza crust, almost like a flatbread, and my infamous veggie burgers. So first up are the spinach and artichoke bites, and here's all you do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take spinach, and this you can use either fresh spinach and just blanch it very quickly, or you can use frozen spinach that's already been chopped. If you're using frozen spinach, just make sure that you drain it really well and then lay it on a towel, roll it up and squeeze it because you want to get as much of the water out of it as possible. So I have some frozen, actually this is a combination of fresh and frozen spinach, which is really good. Artichoke hearts. Now you can buy them in a can that has oil in it, or you can buy them that is just in water in a can, marinated, whatever you like. Again, you're gonna do the draining because you don't want too much water or liquid in it, and then just squeeze it out. And save, if you're doing it from a can that has oil, save what you drained because you can make a really nice salad dressing out of that. So I've got some artichoke hearts that have been coarsely chopped, and some fresh garlic. And you do fresh chopped garlic. It's always so good when it's minced. And I don't know if you remember from previous episodes, very simple to take garlic, peel all your garlic cloves, throw them in a food processor, pulse them up till they're minced, and then just lay them on a baking sheet, stick it in the freezer, and once it's frozen solid, just drop that minced garlic in a Ziploc bag, and anytime you want garlic, you just break off a piece and it's ready to go. You don't lose any flavor whatsoever by freezing it. So we're gonna mix that together, and I have water chestnuts. So these are just finely chopped water chestnuts, which is what I put in my spinach dip and in my cream spinach. So I figured it would work great in here because you get a little crunch and it adds a really nice flavor. So these are all gonna get combined together. And we're just gonna kind of incorporate these together because the spinach is kind of clumpy and lumpy, so you wanna make sure all those ingredients are dispersed throughout that spinach. So let's get that going. This is such a simple recipe. You can do this. This is gonna take like 5 minutes tops. Then you bake it for 15 minutes and you've got yourself a really delicious little bite. And kids love this too, because kids love spinach dip. Okay, now what I'm gonna add is a nice pinch of pepper, freshly, coarsely ground pepper, and some coarse salt. And I have some cream cheese. Make sure it's at room temperature because we're gonna smash that down and get that in there. And I'm gonna hold off before I add the Daiya mozzarella cheese. In this episode, I'll be using Daiya products, and Daiya is the #1 plant-based cheese in America. So good, they have so many options, and it's really wonderful. So if you see, I'm actually pushing this cream cheese down, which takes a little elbow grease, but that's the fun part. I'm pushing it down and getting it incorporated in. Takes a second, because you don't want like big clumps of cream cheese in one spot and none in the other. And while I do this, I'll show you, because we're gonna be putting them in these little phyllo cups. You can make these on your own, or you can purchase them at the store. And see how small they are? We wanna make sure that there's not like just one big lump of cream cheese over here and a little bit of spinach over there. So we're just gonna mix this all up. Okay, that's great. So now what we're adding, I'm adding the Daiya mozzarella, which is right here. It's so good. Plant-based mozz, which is delicious, and I'm Italian, Irish, and the Italian side of me loves my mozz. So I'm gonna save a little bit of that for the top. Look at that. Just these simple ingredients together have so much flavor. And we're ready to rock and roll. Now, you could take a zip top bag if you want, put all of this in the Ziploc bag and kind of pipe it into each one of these, which makes it easy, or you can use a spoon and just use your clean fingers to get it in. So it's gonna have a nice little thickness to it, but it's the perfect amount for one bite. So we'll fill all these up. And this filling freezes great. So whatever I don't have, well, you probably won't have leftovers because this makes a great dip as well. You can just go get yourself some chips and dip it right in here. But if you do want to freeze it, you just put it in a freezer safe container and then just stick it right in the freezer, label and date it with masking tape and a Sharpie. And then when you defrost it, you'll just dump it into a colander over a bowl and let it defrost, and then just squeeze down a little bit to get some of that liquid, and it's like you're starting right from scratch again. So that's the beauty of that too. This looks so good. I love spinach. And if you want to try it with kale, you can try it with kale or any type of greens that you like. You can saute up some Swiss chard, that's nice too. Mustard greens, arugula would be kind of cool as well. So that's the beauty of what I call cooking on top of the stove rather than baking. It doesn't have to be so precise. So if there's ingredients you don't like, don't use them. If you want to use something else, use something else. So here we go. Now we have the oven preheated to 375, and we're gonna bake these for 15 minutes, and that will be that. So this is just such a quick recipe. Now I'm gonna take the rest of the veggie shreds, the mozzarella, just kind of dollop a little bit on top. It's okay if I don't have parchment on the bottom of this, but for easy cleanup, you can either line this with non-stick aluminum foil or parchment paper, but this won't, even just a couple of pieces of these shreds will be easy to clean up. But I'm all about easy cleanup. Makes life easier, which is the point. Okay, all right, then we're just gonna take this and we're gonna stick this in the oven. 375 for 15 minutes. And when we come back, we'll check on them, that'll be ready. And we are going to make a gluten-free pizza crust / flatbread. I'll see you in a minute. Daiya is the #1 plant-based cheese brand in America, committed to delighting your senses with its line of premium plant-based foods like burritos, frozen desserts, pizzas, cheesecakes, cream cheese-style spreads, and wonderful cheese alternatives, including blocks, shreds, slices, and sticks. They are all available in the dairy case and freezer aisle. Daiya also has a line of shelf-stable products like its mac and cheese, cheese sauce, and dairy-free dressings. Daiya's selection of deliciously plant-based foods can be found in more than 25,000 grocery stores in the U.S. Now we're gonna make a delicious gluten-free pizza crust / flatbread. But first we gotta get these spinach and artichoke bites out of the oven. They smell amazing. Oh, look at that. Okay, so right now they're too hot for me to even taste, but they smell so good. And the little crusts get like a little crispiness to them. We've got the melted cheese on the top, the Daiya mutz, and all of that combination of the cream cheese and the spinach and the water chestnuts and all of that. Absolutely delicious. So when they cool down a little bit, I'll take a bite. Okay, so let's just set these off to the side. All right, so let's set these over here to cool. And now we're gonna make the gluten-free pizza crust / flatbread. I say it that way because it's not like a thin crust like this delicious Daiya pizza. It's a little thicker, but it's really yummy. And it's easy. It's one of my favorite ones because it's simple. Okay, so I have some warm water. You wanna make sure the water's warm to help activate the yeast. And I'm going to add 1 package of yeast. I'm stirring this up. And a little bit of sugar, and the two of them together help to get this all going. So what you're gonna do is just kind of stir it around so that till the yeast dissolves. And then I'm gonna set that aside for like 5 minutes until it starts to get a little bit foamy. So good. I make at Thanksgiving time, I make a cornucopia that I use the stand mixer for, and it's like a bread that's really good. All right, let's let that sit a little bit and set that off to the side. So in this stand mixer, while I'm waiting for that yeast to kind of do what it does, I have 2 cups of gluten-free flour. So just look for gluten-free flour. And then to that, I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. Just make sure you look for extra virgin olive oil because it just makes everything taste so much better. And then what we're gonna do is just kind of mix that up together a little bit. Let that egg get in there, So I've got this going. Now I'm gonna add that yeast. And you see it got a little bit foamy and it's all dissolved in there. We're gonna add the yeast and the water and just do this for like 1 minute. You don't wanna over-mix it. Now we have actually like a dough here and it's gluten-free. So it's not easy to find gluten-free doughs, so you have to, making it yourself is always good. And what we're gonna do is you're gonna need oil because it can be very sticky. So I'm gonna put oil on my hands, a little oil on the cutting board, and then oil on my spatula. And I'm gonna spray the cutting board with just a little bit of oil, which is not a bad thing because it's wood and wood loves oil here. And we're just gonna dump this out. See that? It's like a little dough. I'm gonna oil my hands as well. And then I'm just going to kind of get this together and push it down. And what you're doing is you're forming like a little pizza. And you could do this on parchment paper or on a baking sheet and just spread it. And what you can do is just kind of form this into a round pizza if you want. If you want it to look artisanal, you can do it in like elongated. And then what I like to do is go around the sides like this. And I'm kind of forming like, not a perfect circle because I don't like anything too perfect. And then what I'll do is I'll push down here on the sides to kind of get that crust looking. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this in the oven at 450 for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we're gonna put the toppings on it and put it back in the oven. So when we come back, this will be all ready to go. We'll add our toppings. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now the crust has been in the oven for 15 minutes. We have some nice browning on the bottom and around the edges, and it's going to go back in after we do the toppings. So the first thing that goes on is the sauce. This is a homemade tomato sauce for pizza, but you can buy sauce. It makes it very easy. I mean, just a marinara sauce, a spaghetti sauce, whatever you want, whatever you like and whatever kind you like. Yeah, and you can use diced tomatoes as well, whatever you like at the bottom. And a little ricotta is always good. Then I'm going to add some of the Daiya mozzarella. It's delicious. It melts really nice. What's so wonderful about Daiya plant-based cheeses is they stretch and they're melty instead of like clumping like some of the others. And I love that. A little bit of the Parmesan shreds. And then you can pick whatever toppings that you like. I mean, some of my favorites, my favorite pizza ever is broccoli and hot peppers. That's what I get when I order out. I love it, hot cherry peppers. So I'm gonna throw them on. So we got some nice hot cherry peppers. I always take out that little hard stem. And broccoli, what else can I, oh, and maybe a little bit of baby spinach. And we'll put that, and some broccoli all over the place. And a little bit, I'll do mushrooms instead of baby spinach. Let's do some, these are sliced mushrooms, sliced white mushrooms. You can use wild mushrooms, chop it up, whatever size you like, however you like it. And then I'm gonna finish it off with a little more of that Daiya mozz. That's it. And we'll do a little bit more of this. And then I'm gonna pop this in the oven for another 10 minutes. And then we have ourselves a little pizza. So let me just pop this back in the oven. And while that's cooking, if you don't want to make that, if you don't want to go through the hassle of making the gluten-free dough, you can always choose Daiya pizzas. So this is like a pepperoni and sausage type of pizza. There's one that's a meat lovers, and over here we have like a margarita. There are so many different options, and the pizza is absolutely delicious and very easy to get in the oven. What I love about it is the crust is so crispy. It's like, even if you didn't know that it was plant-based, you'd still love it. So when we come back, I'm gonna take that pizza out of the oven. We're gonna taste those spinach and artichoke bites and make a quick veggie burger recipe that you are absolutely gonna love. I'll see you in a minute. Veggie burgers, I love them, and I like them where the consistency isn't so mushy, so I've got the ones that you're gonna love, and here's all you do. I'm going to heat a little bit of oil in a pan and let it get a little hot here. Spread it around. We don't need a lot of oil because once those vegetables hit, the onions and the mushrooms hit that oil, it's gonna get, the water's gonna come out of the mushrooms, it's gonna get a little liquid. So you only need a very little bit to get started to kind of get everything going. Okay, so I'm gonna add the onions. And these are just chopped onions. You can use shallots if you like, and sweet onions, Spanish onions, whatever your favorite is. And we're gonna add some mushrooms. And all we're doing is just getting these cooked up because they're gonna end up in the food processor with the rest of these ingredients. Very interesting ingredients. We're using walnuts and a little flaxseed, some rice, and it gives it a nice texture. So I'm gonna let that cook up. And that's gonna cook for about 5 minutes, just until these vegetables start to soften and we get some water out of those mushrooms. Gonna add a little bit of garlic. Of course, I love garlic. If you don't like it, don't add it. You don't have to, but it gives it a really nice flavor. Okay, now we're cooking. Just kind of stir it around to get that garlic incorporated with all of this in the pan. Okay, actually, while that's cooking, I'm gonna pull that pizza out of the oven. And then I'll stir this a little bit here and there, a little multitasking going on. Let's see how this looks. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Oh, look at that. We got this, oh, let me put it on this. So we have this beautiful pizza that's gluten-free, believe it or not. Keep your eye on the second thing that you're doing while you're multitasking. And these are all starting to soften, and I can smell it getting like all aromatic here. Okay, let that cook. So look, we got a nice crispy gluten-free crust, and I'm gonna cut it up. It's really nice. It's nice and crispy. And I got the hot peppers and the broccoli. Sometimes I like broccoli rabe as well. So I'm just gonna put this up here so you can see it. It's too hot for me to take a bite. And like I said, here's a nice big piece. That would be for my son. A nice big piece of pizza. And I love this. And it's nice to put it on like a pie stand or a cake stand because it looks really pretty. And this is your homemade pizza. But you can always get the Daiya. Makes it a lot easier and delicious. Okay, so there's our pizza with broccoli, hot peppers, and mushrooms. Yummy. All right, let's get back to this. All right, these are getting nice and soft. Now what we're gonna do is add to this, we are going to add some tamari, some balsamic vinegar, which gives it a nice flavor, and some mirin, which is a sweetened rice wine that's so good. A pinch of salt, and then just stir that up a little bit. You're gonna let some of that water and that liquid evaporate. And I'm gonna add a little hot sauce, because I love hot sauce. You can do whatever you want. You can do sriracha, Tabasco, crushed red pepper, or whatever. But today, I'm using what's called Complete Goner sauce. It's my oldest son's sauce. You can get it on Instagram. So look for Complete Goner. He uses all these fruits and different types of peppers, and it's so delicious. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that. I don't know what this one is. Ooh, and it's always pretty spicy. He uses a lot of ghost peppers, which I like. I think the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. So just stir that in, let some of that liquid evaporate. And while that's doing that, let's start getting some of the other ingredients into the food processor over here. So what I have is some brown rice. And you want to use like a short grain brown rice because it's stickier and you'll get a better consistency with your burgers with that. Walnuts. I have a little bit of wheat germ here, flaxseed and wheat germ, and some plain panko. And then we're going to add this mixture right to it. See if I can get it in without spilling it. And that little bit of liquid from the mushrooms and from the tamari and the balsamic is going to help to bind this all together. And that rice is a big binder as well. So we're gonna put this on. So let's get that all in there. We're gonna pulse it. And you can almost see that it's starting to bind together. And by pulsing it, what you're doing is you're letting the sides kind of fall down rather than letting it run completely. There it goes. And I am gonna take a look, do one little side scrape. Oh, this is perfect. Oh, it's perfect consistency. Okay, so I can see it needs a little bit more chopping, but I can tell by the consistency that it's going to be perfect. Okay, now, boy, do I make a mess, but I clean up. I love to clean up as I'm going along. All right, so we're gonna take this bowl, dump this in, and you know there's a little hole in the bottom of this. You can actually hold onto the blade while you dump it out so the blade doesn't get like plop out into your bowl. I can tell it's perfect consistency. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fold in the rest of that panko. Not fold it in. This is where you gotta get your hands in there. My Nana, if she ever saw me making something like this without using my hands, it would be like, oh, what are you doing? So I'm gonna just bring all this panko into the burger, and then we're just gonna form this into patties. I've already made them because they have to sit in the refrigerator for at least an hour to get like firm enough to cook them in the pan or put them on a grill. So I do it almost like making a meatball. I'm just gonna do one and then I'll pull out the others. Maybe a bigger meatball. Okay, so you're just gonna make it into a meatball, and then I do it this way. I just kind of go like this and then flatten it down to whatever size you like. Just like that. And when we come back, I'm gonna pull the ones I already made out of the refrigerator, and then we're gonna talk about how everything freezes and wrap it up. I'll see you in a minute. Last but definitely not least, we're gonna cook these burgers up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat this pan up nice and hot. And here's the burgers. They've been sitting in the refrigerator for, this is about 2 hours, and they get really nice and firm, very, very solid, which is what you're looking for. And then once this pan is really nice and heated up, we're going to add them. You can hear that sizzle, which is what you're looking for. And it's not like we have to cook these because they're already cooked. It's just heating them through. So that's all we're doing right here is we're just searing them and heating them through. Okay, so they're finished, and then you just plate them. And it's as easy as that, you know, just plating your burger, just put it right onto a bun if you'd like. And they look like real burgers. Don't they look like real burgers? They look amazing. And then you can add your cheese to them. This is the Daiya cheddar slices. And then a little bit of lettuce, a little tomato, and then I'm gonna slice it so that you can see the inside. And a little lettuce and tomato, top it off, top it off. Look at that, looks like a real burger. And then I'm just gonna cut this and just go straight through it. Look at that. Just look at that. Looks like a real burger, really good. Okay, now these patties freeze beautifully. So just make sure you sear them on both sides. You can put these on the grill as well, and then just freeze them in an even layer on a baking sheet. Stick them in the freezer. When they're frozen solid, just stick them in a Ziploc bag. Label them with a Sharpie and the date and what it is, and then you can pull them out anytime that you like. Same thing with these little cups. They freeze beautifully, completely done. You're just gonna put them right on a baking sheet, freeze them solid. You can pull them out when you have your company over and stick them right back in the oven. And the pizza as well, same way. Slice it up, even layer baking sheet, put it in a Ziploc bag. And I'm gonna take a bite of this. Thanks for watching Fresh to Frozen and Back. Please share this episode with those that you love, your friends, your family. Make sure you tune in again. Check out Daiya Foods. Look at all this stuff. It's great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.